Welcome to the Academy of General Dentistry Podcast Series featuring Dr. George Schmidt. Each episode features experts in the field of dentistry who share insights and inspiration to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. We have another great show for you today as we welcome Dr. David Galler to the program to speak about clear aligners. But hey, before we introduce our guest, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the like button and ring that bell. That way you'll be among the first to be notified of all things AGD. Hey, David, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, George.
Oh, really looking forward to having you on the program. I know we got a lot of great stuff to talk about. But before we do that, let me introduce you to the audience and tell them a little bit about you. So Dr. David Galler is a high honors graduate from the University of Pennsylvania College of Dentistry and member of the OKU Dental Honor Society. He has established successful Invisalign practices in Chicago, Raleigh, North Carolina, and now Vancouver, British Columbia. Wow, that's spread all over the place. Galler has proudly transformed thousands of smiles with clear aligners. In just a few years after completing his Invisalign training, he became one of the country's top providers. As a featured speaker at numerous study clubs, webinars, and national and regional events, Galler has created a strong following of practitioners wanting to learn more about treating patients with his aligner therapy. His disciples, called Gallerites, are credited with treating about 30% of the entire North American Invisalign GP case starts. That's pretty impressive. He serves as the president of the American Academy of Clear Aligners and has seen membership grow under his leadership to over 5,000 members. Galler is credited with bringing several key innovations to the forefront of the clear aligner field, including GOST, Galler Ostreicher Spacing Technique. I probably butchered the pronunciation there, but Ortho Munchies and the GLR40, Galler's own proprietary algorithm using the Invisalign ClinCheck system. We'll talk a little bit about that. Galler teaches clear aligners for general practitioners via his signature course called Re-Engage in Las Vegas each month, and also runs various happiness seminars to improve quality of life for dentists. We're not treating patients, lecturing, or innovating. Galler enjoys performing stand-up comedy and currently has a residency in Las Vegas where he performs several times a month. And we will absolutely talk about that. But before we get to that fun stuff, we just got to do a little meat and potatoes here. And, I would describe you as a prolific contributor to, the aligner providers all over the country for many, many years. And you got so many things going on. Where did you get the passion for clear aligners?
So I got trained early on, I want to say like 2003. I joined a Manhattan practice. I was a young dentist in New York City, and kind of everybody in Manhattan knew how to do something I didn't know how to do. I cut a crown in 3 visits, cut crown. My partner was like, I can cut a crown in 20 minutes. And I was like, all right. I was like, I can cut a bridge in, 4 months. And he was like, I can do that in 40 minutes, 50 minutes. So he's like, what can you do? So I said, I can do Invisalign. So I jumped really early on into kind of both feet, just looking for some kind of niche to get into in Manhattan. And I was just kind of at the right place at the right time, because we had a practice in downtown Manhattan. Wall Street was booming in the early 2000s. The dot-com bubble was going. And the #1 television show in New York and in America was Sex and the City. And every single one of my male patients wanted to be Mr. Big. And every single one of my female patients wanted to be Miranda and Carrie and Samantha. And I was the only one in Manhattan who could make your teeth straight and beautiful without putting on veneers. So that caught on quickly. Before I knew it, I was kind of knee deep in clear aligners. And those are the early days in clear aligners. And I kind of have an innovative personality. So I started innovating and trying to get things done better. That just kind of led me to where I was.
Wow, and it went from there. Yeah, there's absolutely no shortage of those kind of patients in Manhattan, even to this day, much less back then, that's for sure. I started with clear aligners back in '99, I think, or right about there.
Wow.
And I got trained on that. And so many things have changed in, let's say the last 25 years. I mean, I remember when ClinCheck, right, was this cumbersome big thing, and now it's much more streamlined, right?
Yeah, I mean, they call it a digital end-to-end solution, where, when we started, George, we were taking PVS impressions. People were throwing up, 3, 4 impressions per an arch, mailing it to Mexico, then getting back ClinCheck, messing around with it, trying to move teeth, as best as we could. A technician on the other side trying to move teeth. We're trying to move teeth. They get plastic, put it in. It fits. It doesn't fit. I mean, I can treat an entire clear aligner case in the Vancouver practice with minimal chair time. I mean, we could do half hour, me personally, total. The rest of it's all digital end-to-end solutions, from scanning to the ClinCheck being available on any computer, any device, anywhere in the world, to monitoring the patients via an app, so they don't even have to come in for weekly or monthly visits. It's a night and day game.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible, because I remember, it was cumbersome. And I'll be honest with you, there was a point where I said, and I don't really feel like doing this anymore. It just became too much. And I've always went through cycles in my career of Invisalign. Like, I'd get really excited and I'd do a bunch of cases, and then I'd be like, I don't want to do that for a while. And so anything like you say that kind of streamlines the process, got to make it really easy. And I know you've got a couple of things out of the market, I think, that you've innovated or invented, I should say, to help folks, right?
Yeah. So I think the dream has always been, that doing Invisalign was just, hey, just take an impression and patient pays you money. It's kind of like whitening. But the truth is that, clear aligners, any orthodontics in general, there is, as good as it is, and as much as just put the trays on, there is kind of a lot of know-how that goes into it. And one of the things I've positioned myself in the market is teaching GPs how to do it, how the biomechanics work, what teeth to move, what teeth not to move, what cases treat, what cases not to treat. And then I kind of have a recipe for doing adult clear aligners. That recipe is very repeatable and predictable. And I've kind of made a whole life of teaching general dentists, follow this recipe on these cases, and you'll skate through. But you're right, George, there's a graveyard of general dentists who have jumped into clear aligner orthodontics, tasted it, got excited, took on a bunch of cases. A year later, they're like, I hate this. I hate this. I got problems. I got to ask orthos for help. I don't want to do this anymore. I'd rather cut a crown. So I totally hear that frustration, but there is a way to do it and make it super profitable and fun.
Yeah, we'll get some of that contact information later for folks that want to learn a little bit more about that. So is that, and we're going to talk about this in depth a little bit more later, but is that your re-engage program, or do you have other ways that folks can sort of be introduced to what you're talking about?
Yeah, so I am the president of the American Academy of Clear Aligners, which is an AGD accredited academy. And they specialize on teaching general dentists clear aligners. Clear aligners is like kind of one of these esoteric topics where you really can't learn it in school very well because the instructors don't know it well. There's no real book on it. A couple of people have written books on it. Sandra Tai has written a book. There's an orthodontist in Westchester, New York, who's written a book. But as soon as they write the book, like 2 years later, it's obsolete because the digital technology is changing so fast. What we can do with a scan, what we can do with a ClinCheck, with a CVCT now, they can integrate them together. It's really one of these topics that you learn word of mouth, and the game keeps changing. So you could learn how to do a sinus lift, and it's probably the same sinus lift 5 years from now. But the clear aligner game taught in 2025 is way different than 2020, totally different than 2015. It doesn't resemble 2010. So there are resources on it. It is learnable, but you have to go to the right places.
Isn't that the truth, right? It's such an exciting time in dentistry. Digital, everything's digital, and it's just amazing the technology that we have now. We're really fortunate to be living at this time, and I'm just excited to see what's going forward. You mentioned digital, so just are you only Invisalign now, or not? Only a clear aligner provider now, or do you do other dentistry as well in your offices, or?
Yeah, in my mind, I'm still doing MODs and having crowns fall off, but practically, the only patients I really treat are clear aligners now.
And so the reason I ask that is, so let's say, not to get too far into the weeds, because we could speak about this all day, but new patient comes in, new patient exam. Are you scanning everyone digitally and sort of showing them what's happening?
Absolutely. That is the biggest item, bell, soapbox that I teach, whether you want to do clear aligners, want to be ortho or not. The modern day dental exam is to bring a patient in, scan them, and then look with them at the scan. I rally to this. It's so much better for the patient. There's nothing that you're going to see in the mouth that you can't see on the screen. But on the screen, you could see it like 100 times cleaner. You could see it comfortably. You could also, it's not hard to see the occlusal. You see a chip on upper central incisor. You're just looking in the mouth, you see it, whatever. When you see it on a scanner, you're like, whoa, that fits right together with the lower anterior tooth. The lower anterior tooth, there's a chip in the upper anterior. I could put a bonding in there, it's going to break on Thursday. So I feel like dentists are so much more powerful and believable to the patient when we're looking at it with a scan. Yeah, that's a big rally cry for me.
Yeah, I've always found that it's a tremendous learning experience, not only for the patient, but for the dentist, just for the reason you just said, right? Because if you've got that scan, sometimes you can look at that and say, well, that's not going to work what I was thinking, or you can get a better grasp on the occlusion and all that kind of stuff. So it's absolutely incredible. So you're involving the patient when you do the scan, you're going over everything with them, I would imagine. And that works not only for clear liners and things like that, for any kind of
Yeah.
dentistry.
Yeah, I mean, I always joke around when I have a group that, one of the hardest things in dentistry was getting a patient to agree to scaling and root planning. Right? We just did your debridement 1110, and now we're trying to get you to do scaling and root planning. I'm like, hey George, I need another cleaning out of you. And you're like, what? I just had a cleaning. And I'm like, I know, but this one's going to hurt much more. It's going to hurt so badly that we can only do one side at a time. And, that was always like a hard upsell. But when I show you a scan and you could see those red gums, when you could see that white tartar calculus wall behind your lower anteriors, it's a much easier talk. People go, okay, yeah, sorry I slacked, doc. Yeah, let's scrub it down once. I think a generation ago, like my dad's generation, like he used to like chip off a piece of the calculus from like the wall and like put it on the patient finger and be like, look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know that was the best infection control
Yeah.
methodology for winning a patient over. I show you a scan, you see a white wall where we can't even see the necks of your teeth, and I'm like, George, we got to scrub these down. You got to come back. We got to scrub these down. Everything treatment planning is easier via scan.
No doubt about it. And you're going to be for our listeners, you're going to be in Montreal at AGD 2025, July 9th through 12th. We are looking forward to having you there. I'm looking forward to coming to your courses. And one of the courses that you're going to be teaching or speaking about there is actually involving clear aligners, not for cosmetics, because that's what we always think, right? We always think cosmetics, the first thing that comes to mind, but not for that, but rather for perio and also occlusion, just like what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. So, the easy one is cosmetics. That's what everyone knows. And to be honest, my practice in New York, my practice in Chicago, we were about cosmetics. People got Invisalign because of the cosmetics. But as I moved to North Carolina, now that I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia, like cosmetics is just not a thing. Like I'll get a patient in and be like, oh, this lateral, I could twist it. You'll look so much better on Instagram. They're like, cool. Yeah, I'm not so vain, doc. Doesn't bother me. Vancouver, I'm living in Vancouver, British Columbia now, married to my wife, who's the dentist who owns the practice. And, they're just, it's a health oriented, nature walking, vegan eating, beautiful, scenic place. Everyone's super healthy. I know you and I are from the Northeast, and on a Sunday, I just like a hot dog and a beer or a Diet Coke. And that just doesn't fly that much in British Columbia. That's more health oriented, real serious recycling, health, vegan, walking to work. So the cosmetic angle doesn't work, but if I say your gingiva, your gums will be healthier, oh my gosh, that's what everybody wants. Now, the truth is Invisalign does all three. It does cosmetics, it does perio, and it fixes occlusion. And depending on your market and your practice and who you are, one speaks to you more. I mean, there is no doubt, basic periodontal, you have two teeth that are overlapped, lower anterior, you can't floss it, you get bleeding. I'm not saying they're falling out, but you're getting bleeding on probing, you're getting pocketing. The simple move, just let me put them right next to each other mesiodistally, you're infinitely healthy. I'm not saying you're going to die the other way, but there is no doubt that the advanced modern way to treat periodontal disease, caused by crowding, is just straighten the teeth.
And is that the way you approach that conversation with the patient? Like when you said, because a lot of people, they'll say, oh no, like you said, I don't really, I'm okay with my teeth the way they are. But when you start that discussion with the patient and say, hey, look, this is better for your overall health. I mean, is that how you're approaching it with them?
Oh yeah. In British Columbia, it work in different markets, but in British Columbia, that's the game. I mean, if I say to any patient in British Columbia, take X, you will be healthier. no doubt. People taking vitamins, people taking shakes, people taking all kinds of things. And I see all these people with periodontal disease and crowding. And I just say, listen, you can come back every 3 months if you want. But I got to be honest, in my 25 years of dentistry, nobody's ever gone from 3 months to perfectly pink, healthy gums, 1 to 3 pockets. Like it's just a war of attrition. I'm trying to just keep everything up. If I straighten your teeth, there's a solid chance your gums can improve. Pockets go to 1 to 3, no bleeding on probing, and you can go back to normal 6-month cleanings.
Yeah, what a great service for the patient. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't think of it in those in those terms, because we always think of Invisalign or clear aligners, we always think of, cosmetics 100% of the time. Let me ask you this, while we're talking about, perio and all that kind of stuff. And I know it's a broad topic and it can be, vary in many ways, but when you do your delivery, let's say you come in, you have you scan your workup, you order the aligners, they come in. Are you tying delivery trays to hygiene visits so that you don't use chair time? Are you blending it all together like that? I know there's some folks out there that do that.
So in the new for Invisalign, because I speak Invisalign, that's what my expertise is, but there are a lot of clear aligners. With Invisalign, the way that we work it now is we put that first tray in, we give you the instructions, we follow up 1 week later, and then we give you all the trays, and you take home all the trays.
Wow.
And then there's an app that you take a photo of the trays with your teeth in, and then with your teeth out on an app. There's an AI that reads the teeth, compares it to the ClinCheck, and then tells me, David, it's going well-ish. Patient needs to come in. And then all I got to do every day is just go online and just see all my patients who took pictures last night and be like, ooh, yes, no problem, come in.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
It's a different world.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let me ask you this. So the other reason that I know that's part of the course up there is occlusion, right? So again, we think cosmetics, and then we all intuitively know that it's going to help them from a perio standpoint. But then occlusion also comes into play. But I got to say this, in my career over nearly 30 years in dentistry, more often than not, I've seen bad occlusion from Invisalign that's come into my office where folks have straightened the teeth and haven't paid attention to the occlusion, and the teeth look great, but the patient's either having some problems, interferences, or I know long-term this is going to be an issue. So speak to me about that.
Yeah, you pick up a good point, George. So let's start with the first part. So when I see a patient, I'm evaluating them cosmetically. There are benefits to cosmetics. Perio, there's benefits to perio. But then I also talk about occlusion. One of the, if you ask me what the biggest miss in general dentistry is nowadays, like our biggest problem, you always get these people, what's the biggest problem in general dentistry? And everyone throws out flavor of the day, staff, hygiene, education, DSOs, expenses, blah, blah, blah. George, I think the biggest miss, general dentist, me, is I think too many Americans crack teeth. I think we crack teeth at an astonishing rate.
No doubt about it.
I've seen the Glidewell lab I think the largest lab, right? They do like 50,000 units a day.
They have 6,000 employees at their Irvine office alone. It's unbelievable. They're the largest employer outside of Disney, I think, in Orange County or wherever that is.
They're their own zip code.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But think about it. If they're doing 50,000 units a day, that means 50,000 broken teeth. Maybe some are caries, maybe 5,000 are caries, 10,000, 40,000 cracked teeth on a piece of bread, an apple, this, that. I think so much is caused by occlusion. And as a general dentist, I was just never trained to look at your mouth and go, George, that tooth's going to crack. I don't know, today, tomorrow, next week, a year. I think that tooth's going to crack because of the way you're biting into it. Let me do Invisalign clear aligners. Let me fix that. And that's a big part of what we do as well. So that's the first part. The second part is, you're right. I mean, a lot of people doing clear aligners, at least over the years. And if you're not trained 100%, yeah, sometimes we see some wonky bites at the end. I'm not going to pretend that doesn't exist. Kind of dedicated my life to teaching dentists how to avoid those wonky bites at the end, what we call posterior open bites. I think that is one of my lectures at the AGD on it, and really making sure that the occlusion at the end is better than what we started with.
Yeah, I think the key, like anything else, is education, right? You just have to know what you're doing. You've got to go, you've got to put the time in like you have. We have to go see folks like you tell us the good, the bad, the ugly, what you've learned over the years. And you've got so many great courses out there. And I know in Vegas every year you have something called Re-Engage, right? And I don't know if this is an invitation only or if this is something that folks can go to, but I have heard nothing but absolute raves about this course. And I think it's in Vegas every month or every couple of months, right?
Yeah, so I always joke around, and this is important also for everyone coming to the Montreal AGD. I always joke around that like the best kept secret in dentistry is that everyone's doing clear aligners, and like nobody knows what they're doing. Like you get some information here. You had your 99 training, webinar here, sales associate told you something there, your ortho
Right.
friend said this, you read something on Dental Town. It's hard to learn when you get pieces of information from 50 different locations and the patients are asking for it and they got revenue and offices go up and down and they're like, here's $5,000, Dr. Schmidt, please treat my case. And you're like, I think I know enough. So I mean, that is most of the world. The way, I don't know how we got here, but it is. The Reengage course is a 2-day course in Las Vegas, 15 hours. And I just go, all right, here is the entire system A to Z. Within clear, apply to any clear aligners. I specifically talk about Invisalign just because that's my expertise, but the biomechanics are the same. The posterior bites are the same. The attachments are the same. The IPR is the same. And we kind of just go, okay, let me lay it out all from A to Z with a recipe that's easy to follow. Do this, don't do that. People come to that course and they're like, okay, I kind of feel confident to do it. Without that, I mean, look, orthodontists go to school for a really long time to learn how to do this. It's only us GPs to be like, how hard could it be?
Yeah, exactly. That is so funny, but so true. So in addition to the Re-Engage and all the things that you do from a clear aligner standpoint, I know another big thing, a big passion of yours is burnout. And I know you have a lot of happiness seminars and things like that. So we got to spend a little time talking about that because I know that's something that you're very passionate about. You're also going to be speaking in Montreal about that as well. So talk to us a little bit about your involvement with that.
Yeah, so I meet a lot of dentists, in my lecturing and conferences around peers in the academy. I find that most dentists today in 2025 are unhappy. I feel like there's a lot of stress. I feel like there's a rat race. I don't know how it started. I don't know why it is. I know I'm in it. I'm part of it. 100%. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Have 4 operatories, need 8 operatories. Have 8 operatories, have 1 office. My little sister has 1 office. You should have 2. You have 2 offices. Why are not 4? You have 4 offices. Why don't you sell to a DSO? Like, at what point do his dentist? I don't know any dentist who go, kind of happy where I'm at, not looking to make more revenue, not looking to learn more procedures, kind of happy. I'm 45 and yeah, if everything could just stay as is, I'm good. Everybody I know is like, I need 100 patients in a month. I got to get more SEO on my website. Like, we're in a rat race. I don't know how. I don't know why. I know that my friends who are cardiologists are not in this rat race. They're just kind of like, yeah, I work in the hospital. Whoever has a bad heart comes. But like dentists are like, I don't know.
Where do you think we went wrong? I mean, where do you think we got off on? I think not got onto this hamster treadmill that we're on, because it's so true. You're absolutely right. I mean, I probably know a few people that are like, hey, I'm good. I'm just gonna, just glide away. But 99.9% of everyone I know is exactly like what you're saying. We're
Yeah,
not satisfied. We want the next thing, and this guy has something, and we better do that. Or he's doing it. Oh, why am I not doing it? I got to do that. It's just crazy.
it is, and in the end, it creates dentists that are unhappy. And I feel like I'm on a soapbox calling it out and just letting everybody know, hey man, if you're stressed, if you come home from work and you're aggravated, and just know it's okay. Like, there's a lot of people out there, and the people on Instagram and Facebook with the fanciest ads and the happiest looking staffs, those are the most miserable people. Like, I can tell you right now that those people are it. I don't know how we got here. I mean, is it like a keeping up with the Joneses type thing? Is it a school loans where everyone's trying to pay off their school loans? But is it just we have too much time on our hands? Were we all like this and we just happened to wind up in this career, or did this career make us like this?
Oh,
I
geez.
got hours of theory on it, George. I'd
Yeah,
love to
yeah.
talk about, but
We could
it's a thing. It's a thing, and I'm the one calling it out.
It is a real thing. You're absolutely right. So I know you, so is this something that you do from you don't do this as a consulting. You do this from a seminar standpoint. When you speak to these issues for people, you're just going out there, maybe
Yeah,
on your
there's no
podcast. I know you
business
have a
here.
podcast, maybe on your podcast, different things like that.
Yeah, there's no business here. I got into this burnout a few years ago. I started noticing it. I like to make jokes. I like to make people laugh. So I started making jokes about it. I started to be, building bits about how crazy dentists are and how, the hygienist hates the assistant hates the office manager is stealing from the dentist. It's like around and around we go. And it a bit turned into, I forgot where it was, maybe Chicago Midwinter said, hey, do you want to make a lecture about this? Made a lecture about it for 2 hours, just kind of trying to talk to people about being stressed and not doing the ultimate. I don't know if you had any experience, George, with colleagues or peers who've taken it to the extreme.
I have, yes,
Sadness and
unfortunately.
darkness
Yes.
took over them. I
Yep.
don't want to speak to it, but I've had a few friends, no judgment, the darkness was too much, and they just couldn't find any other way out. And it's a shame because we work so hard to get here. Like, it probably started the journey, right? Probably started in ninth grade, maybe, 10th grade. You're starting to do a little bit better in sciences than other people in the class, into college, make it through that, get through the DATs. Then you're into dental school, all the heck that comes with that. Then you got to pass the DATs. Then you got to take a business loan to get a practice, pray that somebody comes and lets you touch them. And here you are, you're 45 and you're like, I'm so stressed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a phenomenal journey. I mean, it's really, as you described it, if you think, if you think back on it and all that we've gone through to get where we are, I think, that, I don't know if that's healthy, to be honest with you.
No, but it at least makes you go like,
You can take it both.
Like, I made it.
Yeah, you can take
I
it both
made
ways. Yeah, right. And I think that's the problem. Some people don't know where to focus. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking what you're doing is helping them with that. And I think one of the things you do is you have like a methodology sort of quiz or a test you give the folks and you walk them through that whole thing.
So George, if you sit down with a dentist at a conference, like, the AGD conference, I'm like, hey, where you from? And they're like, oh, I'm from Austin, Texas. How's it going? Oh, amazing. I got 8 ops and, I have $20 million and there's so much money here. Oh, we got 10 million new patients a day. It's like, come on. So I have developed a 13 question quiz that I start with in all my lectures on happiness, and it just kind of breaks the awkwardness and the wall down. And you could be like, I'll be like, hey, Dr. Schmidt, do you ever have recalls of dental school when you go to sleep? Like, you're out 30 years, you said. But like every now and then you're back and you're back there and you're late for a test or some waxing melted or your patient didn't show up for the NERBs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we all have that.
Okay. So I asked my sister, who is a psychologist here at Columbia Presbyterian, I'm like, what's the deal with that? And she goes, when you wake up, are you like a little bit tense? It takes a minute to remember that you're actually a dentist and you passed and everything. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you're a little agitated, you're nervous, and you're upset. I'm like, yes. She's like, well, we have a word for that. I was like, what is it? Because I have it. She goes, it's called PTSD.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
So questions like that, I ask you 13 questions. I could say, hey, does this happen to you? Does that happen to you? Does this happen to you? And the higher you score, the more the same we are. And the more easier it is to talk about, hey, I'm a bit stressed. I'm a bit unhappy. And that it's crazy because I'm a upper middle class, make X money. I should be happy. I've done really, really well for myself, but I'm having trouble in finding the happiness in my practice, my patient.
Yeah, I'm sure at Chicago Midwinter when you were there, that class was absolutely packed, and I'm sure Montreal will be the same. When you do these kind of events, I'm sure staff is in there, and I imagine you really need to involve your staff with this, right? Because this shouldn't be
100%.
something that dentists keep within themselves. This unhappiness. I mean,
Yeah.
staff might figure, okay, that guy's, he's it's a bad day for him today, but I don't mean it like that. In other words, you need to talk about these kind of things and not just run around the office and
the
throw.
staff feels it too, man. Working in a dental office, you're an assistant and you're working in a dental office, man. I don't think there's like a harder job than that. I mean, you're a dental assistant. Your job is to hand me supplies so I can work in the mouth. But yeah, if the x-ray machine breaks down, I'm probably going to ask you. If the chair doesn't go back, I'm probably going to ask you. I'll probably ask you to buy supplies, get the patients, shovel the driveway. Like, man, they do so much, and the receptionists and the office managers deal with 10,000 different things, and patients are meaner than they ever were, and everybody's worried about the bad review. Yeah, this when we do this lecture, hopefully we'll have a real big turnout at AGD Montreal. You come with your staff. It's kind of like my Netflix 3-hour special. You will laugh, you will cry. I will point out every idiosyncrasy of your office, and you'll be like, how does he know that we do that? Because at the end of the day, man, we are all the same. I know exactly you. I know exactly what your office runs about. I know exactly your fears and your worries and how your office runs like a semi-psychotic small business.
That is so true. We had Jeffrey Gurian on the program. Jeff, he's from New
Yeah,
York,
sure.
and he's the dental comedian. And I said to him, I said, you know what, dentistry is an amazing, a forum to have a sitcom. Why don't we have a sitcom for dentistry, right?
What?
Yeah.
No
And
one
he
would
actually,
believe it. That's why. No one would
no,
believe it. They'd be like, nobody would go to dental school if that's what it's like.
exactly. So we had a little bit of a chat about that, but I'm assuming humor is a big part of the way out of here and the way to lighten the mood. And I know this also. You got to talk to me about. I know you're in Vegas and you do a little comedy routine, and you just mentioned Netflix. So talk to me about that.
So I've been lecturing for probably about 15 years nationwide, mostly about clear liners. I got my story. I got an interproximal. I had a couple of innovations early on that got me into the clear liner world, speaking for Invisalign, and then from there, I started speaking about practices and practice growth because I was part of a very successful practice in Manhattan, and we were doing things right. And I always had the best way to connect with an audience is with humor. So I always try and use humor in it. And then one time I was traveling with my friends in California, giving a big talk, to California dentists, and we passed by a comedy club called Flappers out in Burbank, close to where Jay Leno was. This is maybe 10 years ago, and they had an amateur comedy open mic night, and they're like, "We're entering you." I was like, "What?" And then we entered me into it, and I won it. I won the competition,
Really?
beating out all these real comedians.
Wow.
And then that turned into a gig there, and then I started playing Caroline's on Broadway here, kind of doing some open mics on it, and then blah 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 blah. 10 years later, now I have a show. I now do a show called LA Comedy Live, which is in the Stratosphere Hotel in Las Vegas, and I also last Thursday played Jimmy Kimmel's Club in it. So I have a kind of a standing gig in Las Vegas. Those are not to dentists. That's to real, like, people just coming to a comedy club.
Yeah.
And I'm part of a show there. Doesn't pay the bills, but is a lot of fun and is a deep passion of mine.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. I go to Vegas every now and then, and next time I go, I will be calling you to get some
Absolutely.
tickets for that show. And
Absolutely.
hopefully you'll hook me up with a good table right out front. But you know what? We're out of time, and I really, really enjoyed chatting with you. But before we go, you got to share your contact information for folks that want to get a hold of you, maybe to learn a little bit more about clear aligners, or maybe to book you to speak, or even have you come out and do some comedy stuff for them. How can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is drgaller@hotmail.com. So Dr. Galler at hotmail.com, which I get a lot of heck for, the Hotmail. I know that's a whole thing in itself. Other than that, I'm on Instagram, drgaller at Instagram. Otherwise, you can get me from, you can go to the American Academy of Clear Aligners website, and you can find me there. Send the email to the American Academy, but I'm fairly reachable on it. Email, Instagram, through the Academy website. Super excited to be part of the AGD this year. It's going to be really big. If anybody's looking for a great 3 hours to connect with their team and have fun, you'll have the most fun you've ever had, I promise, at the Burnout Lecture.
We are so much looking forward to that. And as an aside, I don't often admit it, especially in public, but I do still have an AOL account. So I might have you beat on the Hotmail.
If Gmail people make fun of Hotmail people make fun of AOL people.
There you go. So you went up me. But thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate you, and looking forward to seeing you up in Montreal. I'd also like to thank our producer, Kristen Gover. And if you like what you heard, please like and subscribe to our channel. On YouTube, it's at General Dentistry. You can always find us on the AGD app and SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you have any questions, concerns, comments, or suggestions, contact us at news@agd.org. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.